Teacher Jennifer from US Citizenship Podcast. Today I'm going to be sharing some resources for US citizenship. This is presented on behalf of CASAS. Let's get started. The participants will identify the latest citizenship resources in the form of mobile apps, videos, podcasts, websites, online courses, textbooks, and more. By adapting and incorporating these digital resources, participants will be able to implement learning strategies appropriate for citizenship online classes, blended learning, distance learning environments, or directed self-study. Let's do some updates. First of all, USCIS.GOV has updated their website. This was very important update during the summer. It's much more mobile friendly. It looks beautiful on our mobile devices and our iPads. This is the best place to go for the latest news about USCIS.gov. You can apply for citizenship online, and you can use tools to check on the status of applications. So when you first start your class, make sure you give your students a tour of this very, very important website, USCIS.gov. USCIS Citizenship Resource Center. This one has information for the CBOs and the learners, and also for the teachers. The lesson plans that so many of us depend on are under resources for educational programs. There you will find beginning and intermediate lesson plans for citizenship students, as well as basic lesson plans for N400 vocabulary. Another major update this summer was Preparing the Oath, americanhistory.si.edu/citizenship. Before this website used Flash, so a lot of our students could not access it through their mobile phones. Now it's completely accessible through mobile phones and mobile devices. You have the same excellent content from the Smithsonian. However, the videos, when you stop them, they revert to the thumbnail. So you cannot make annotations on whatever scene is being shown, which is unfortunate. However, they do have the transcript right there for the students, and I use those transcripts a lot for listening activities. I want to talk about the recent release of the 128 questions. So the 2020 version of the civics test is now up at the www.uscis.gov/citizenship/2020 test. There you can find out that you can download a PDF or a text of the 128 questions, and then also the 128 questions for people who have been in the United States or have had permanent residence for over 20 years and over 65 years of age. I wanted to give you a quick guide and some information about the contents of the test. I especially want to point out some of the challenges and opportunities that we have for the test. First of all, one of the big challenges, of course, is the length of the test. It's 128 questions. The opportunity is that the student can learn more about American history and civics. So that's good. Another challenge is that a lot of our students, the students will have to answer 20 questions during the test. They only need to answer 12 correctly to pass. A lot of people are saying, wow, this is really a big change, but speaking from my experience as a citizenship teacher, a lot of our students memorize everything on the test. And so it's the N400 that's the problem. It's not the Civics Guide, but here there's going to be a lot more content for them to remember. So I wanted to talk about some of the challenges and the opportunities. So the first 15 questions are about the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights. Some of the challenges, of course, is that they're bringing in more founding documents. But one of the opportunities is one of the founding documents that they reference is the Iroquois Great Law of Peace. So it's basically looking past the Mayflower Compact and to the very origins of American society with the Iroquois. Questions 16 through 35, we're talking about the legislative branch, and of course the keywords are going to be Congress, Representative, Senate. Some of the challenges are going to be talking about representation. So there's controversy about who is represented in a state, all the citizens or everyone in the state. The opportunity is to basically talk about representation and talk about the need of the census. And furthermore is one of the very interesting questions is why a term for the representatives is short as to more closely follow public opinion. So linking the concept of representation, public opinion, public participation is going to be very, very important in this system of government section. We move on to the executive branch. Of course, we have the keywords about the president, the vice president, and the cabinet. One of the new questions and the challenges is they're talking about the president and the appointment of federal judges. There's nothing in there about the Congress. So that might be a little bit confusing to our students, especially because they're so keen on the separation of power. One of the opportunities, though, is to talk about the Electoral College and the importance of the Electoral College, and again, how that's linked to the census. And good luck. It's going to be, it can also be a challenge. It's very difficult to explain the Electoral College, but it's also very important to talk about this. Moving on to the judicial branch, we have the keywords of the Supreme Court justices and the laws. One of the challenges is that we're talking about lifetime appointments, but the opportunity is to talk about one of the reasons for the lifetime appointment is to be independent of politics. So that'll be very interesting to discuss about those kind of concepts in the classroom. Questions 58 to 62, we're talking about the federal and state powers. Of course, we have the keywords of power, federal, state, capital, governor, those kind of things. One of the challenges is a new, talking about a new amendment, the 10th Amendment, and which talks about the distinction between state and federal powers. And the real opportunity is to talk about the different levels of government, not only the federal and the state differences, but also the local government, how they're separate, but how they work together. So that's going to be a real opportunity. When we go on to rights and responsibility, there were a lot of new developments in this section in 63 to 72. The key words are civic and citizen. And there's a lot of, the challenge is everyone has basic rights, but the opportunity is some of those freedoms or those rights are reserved for US citizens. So if you take a look at this, I'm an ESL teacher, and what's really interesting to me is there's so many active verbs in this section. So there's going to be an opportunity to do a lot of cross-referencing for grammar and vocabulary, a lot of opportunity to dig in there to about the active life, about community and civic participation. Moving on, I want to talk about the American history section. So 73 to 89, we're talking about the colonial period. Again, there's a focus on the American Revolution, and this might be a little bit of a challenge for our students, especially because they're talking about specific events. One of the opportunities is, as opposed to before, a lot of the questions would simply, what my students would say, if they didn't know the person, they would just say Washington. Well, we get an opportunity to dig a little bit further into the founders, and the construct here is Hamilton is famous for many things. Franklin is famous for many things. So we get an opportunity to talk a little bit more in depth about the history and how these lives are linked up to our students' lives. In the 1800s, the main focus is the Civil War, slavery, and the vote. The challenges are references to the Civil War events. I think this might be an opportunity to, before we had the geography section, we knew about the East Coast, we knew about the West Coast, we knew about the border states, but now we're able to dig a little bit further into what's happening in the South, and we'll see what's happening, how that history has direct impact into some of our social movements right now. Also, this is an opportunity to talk about the right to vote for men and women. Voting rights are still very, very much front and center of American politics today. When we move on to American history, there's an expanded section. The keywords are war, communism, and civil rights. The challenges are many wars, and I respect our military. Everything in my life has come from the fact that my father did go into the Navy and the benefits that were accrued from that. But the thing is that there's a lot of military associated history with that, and people could see America as a very warlike place. So we have to really be sensitive to that. On the other hand, the opportunity that we have is we can finally talk about American innovation. And if you talk about America to many students, they think about America as a place for business and opportunity and innovation. We could talk about the Native American nations, and also we can talk about the social movements that rose up in response to different wars. And in in questions 119 to 128, we have symbols and holidays. Of course, the keywords are flag and holidays, and the challenges are, again, we have more holidays, again, associated with military action. But the opportunity is that we can basically start exploring our motto, e pluribus unum, out of the many come the one. So we could talk about unity and diversity in this situation. I want to talk about a really great article by Bill Bliss, the author of Voices of Freedom, always delivering quality content. Take a look at this article that he wrote about considering the new citizenship test. I put a bit.ly up here, BB-2020 test for Bill Bliss, 2020 test. He does a side-by-side comparison, the 2008 test to the 2020 test, and then the reverse, the 2020 test to 2008 test. So I kind of use this almost like as a Venn diagram to see how I need to expand my curriculum. So please take a look at this article, very important article from Bill Bliss. Lynn Weintraub also wrote a really great article using Citizenship Passing the Test, her book series from New Readers Press, to teach both sets of the questions, because a lot of people are thinking, oh my God, I need to go out and buy a new book. Well, you don't have to do that. She has cross-references to her book about where you can find information about each question in the book, or where you can take what's in the book and expand out of from that. So please take a look at this information from Lynn Weintraub. I want to talk about classes in the time of COVID-19 and Canvas Commons. Some people have posted information in there about the civics test. I picked two here from Leticia Barajas from Southern California, and she was putting up information related to the N400 and getting ready for citizenship module. So I encourage a lot of our fellow teachers to start posting their Canvas and Moodle information to Canvas Commons. It's going to be really helpful. I know myself, I'm preparing to release a Canvas course and a Moodle course, and so I am definitely going to be posting this information up, and people can grab those modules as they appear. Of course, I teach at a Milpitas adult school. In fact, I have class in a couple of minutes, so I gotta finish this. But anyway, I'm basically posting every time I have a class. I post our lessons. I have cross references to USCIS, into the Smithsonian, into the appropriate lessons that I have developed at uscitizenpod.com. And then also, like for instance, I'll have extra things about resources for May, or resources for Native American History Month, or right now I have resources for the winter holidays. Very great example. Brennan Peacock was teaching for BPSOS and was doing, I think, 2 or 3 hour classes multiple times during the week on Facebook. And his classes had a great following, lots of interaction, very, very intensive. So I think he might have switched up his model and the way he's delivering content. But again, don't be afraid to use Facebook or WeChat or whatever resource your students can want to congregate on. Please try to use that resource to deliver content to your students. Use multiple tools such as Remind, hey, this class is coming up. Use Google Drive to deliver public materials to them, or you can basically use Google Classroom, whatever you need to do to get your students online and basically building up not only their civics content, but also their computer literacy is going to be really super important. This was a really great info session hosted by Gonzalez Adult School. They invited our local community resource officer from USCIS to answer questions about citizenship. And so this was a live event. It was not recorded, but still there was a lot of great content, and she was able to respond in English and Spanish, and it was really great to see that outreach on Facebook. PDFs that you cannot live without. So of course, ILRC has translations or transliterations of the N400 applications of naturalization. You cannot use these applications to apply, but still they're really great for students to use to build up their understanding of what's on the N400, and so they can give very, very accurate information to the USCIS N400 application. Clinic Legal is really great. They have, of course, they have a PDF that you can download, and it's almost like a citizenship book or citizenship lesson per page. They also have information in there about specific strategies to teach for citizenship for older adults. And one of the best ones is Miguel's interview. I think I have that on the next page. Yes, I do. So this is a PDF. It's an 8-page PDF that actually shows what happens during the citizenship interview. Now it's a little bit different. Of course, we have to take into account COVID protocols. Some questions that students are getting tripped up on when they're coming into their interview now, especially in San Jose, people are being asked, have you traveled outside 150-mile radius? Some students don't understand the question. They say yes, and they said, we're sorry, you can't come in. So we'll reschedule you. So make sure to very early in your class to go over this photo novella from Clinic Legal about Miguel's naturalization interview. This is also a really great photo novella from FTC, it's about notorious scams, and so it's downloadable in English and in Spanish, and they also have some more photo novellas for your consideration. Minnesota Literacy has a really, really great citizenship kit. It's over 70 pages, and one of the parts of the kit is the N400 application for naturalization. Here's the question, here's the appropriate response, and the examiner can check if they gave the appropriate response or are unable to answer. And this is really good practice also for the students who are preparing for the CASAS CIT test. So it gives them a similar experience. I personally would not do this all in one sitting. It would take maybe about 20 minutes. That's a lot of class time. But if you have people who are coming in to help with your class, that would be really good. And it's also really good to share this with your classes online. Virtual citizenship courses. Burlington English now has a core, and they have integration to English literacy and civics, and they basically are talking about core citizenship. So this is going to be a course that can help them for their citizenship prep. So if you have Burlington licenses, please take a look at this course. And of course, they have English in America, which is just a much abbreviated version of the citizenship interview, but the students still get a taste of what's involved with the interview. So take a look at that from Burlington. Cambridge Ventures Arcade. I love using this especially for warm-ups. So of course, they have the different levels that are associated with ventures, and they also have a citizenship course as well. So the students can practice their listening and dictation and questions related to vocabulary, not only for the civics questions, but also for the N400. So please take a look at this one. USA Learns, in a week or two, I'm going to be coming on with Andrea Willis to talk about USA Learns. Really great way to bring your students into to a citizenship course. Of course, teachers can set up their own courses so they can keep abreast of the students' progress through the course. So please take a look at that course, or excuse me, that webinar that's going to come back up in 2 weeks from USA Learns. This is a new one from, I believe it's from Portland, or I think it's Portland, USA Hello Citizenship Classroom. They have civics content in there. I haven't seen any N400 content there, but still this is a great way for students to start practicing for citizenship, and you can basically get directions in multiple languages. News and news literacy. The informed citizen is a good and participating citizen. So we have adult education newspapers from Elizabeth Clare, Change Agent, NELRC.org, New Readers and Press, News for You Online. And also you have Newsella, which is a subscription-based service. Elizabeth Clare also reads some of her top stories on her YouTube channel. So that was also interesting for my students to listen to and to read along with. VOA, of course, has a special section on press freedom and news literacy. And they were talking about very recently about how journalists are being persecuted in other countries, and how there is a very dire need for visas for them to escape and pursue their pursuit of truth. I know voting elections are over, but we still need to talk about it a little bit, okay? So 60 Seconds Civics Podcast is a really great podcast. It's only a minute of listening. They also release really short videos on Twitter. They release some of their videos on YouTube, and they and they always have a civics quiz every day on their blog. So please take a look at this, especially their sessions from October and to the beginning of November, because they did a whole series about the history of voting in the United States. So really, really great stuff. Of course, I have my own resources about the election. iCivics had some really great activities and some really great lesson plans about that. I want to go into video content. There's so much video content online, but a lot of it's just civics based, so we need to dig a little bit deeper. However, number one stop, USCIS.gov on YouTube. You have to go to the playlist section to find their civics playlist. I'm looking forward to when they basically create another civics playlist for the new 128 questions, because you have USCIS officers looking directly into camera and asking those questions. And that's going to be really, really important for our students to see that and to see the diversity of the USCIS staff. ESA delivers quality content on citizenship on YouTube. So she has all sorts of lessons and preparation classes. So please take a look at her information. You have my own website. Oh, there's Brendan. But I am able to, right now I'm only interviewing my students on Zoom, and a lot of them are super shy about being recorded. However, I have gotten some good interviews recently, and I'm uploading them. So take a look at the resources or the videos I have on YouTube. I have over like 500 videos of me interviewing students or talking about citizenship or practicing the civics questions, those kind of things. VOA News is probably one of our best resources for our students to get information about what's happening with the government, particularly because they're going to be following the road to the inauguration very, very closely. So there's some really great video content there. If these are too long, you can also take a look at VOA Learning English, and they have VOA 60 seconds. So they do four news stories from different parts of the world in 1 minute. And so just even that 1 minute video generates so much discussion in my classes, and they're able to basically give you a taste about what's going on in the world, and a lot of times what's going on in our students' home countries. So that's really super important. Also, you have listen and read along. So they highlight as the words are being read, they're highlighted. So this has really been helpful for a lot of students about practicing their fluency. How do you use videos in your citizenship classes? So this is always a big question. So one of the ways is to embed short videos into Google Forms. I do blog posts constantly where I embed a video in my blog, and then I basically create a quiz, and a lot of my quizzes are related to the N400 or to civics questions. Also, I use Edpuzzle. Now, I did something stupid. These are 1 minute videos about the presidents. However, I squeezed in 10 questions. So not smart. Give students a little bit more time to get content, and then ask the question. So maybe instead of asking civics questions, you might be asking the meaning of different vocabulary. So please try to work with Edpuzzle or Pear Deck or Nearpod. Any of these are really, really great to check for comprehension while students are watching videos. Most important questions we have is, or one of the most important videos we have is from CENSUS.GOV on YouTube. It's about 10 years old. And believe it or not, this video about apportionment is just so important. So it's bit.ly/apportionment-video. So why is this important? We're talking about the census and how we are assigned representation in the United States House of Representatives. But it's a very difficult concept. So how do you use this information? So one of the things that you do, you go to this 2-minute video, you go to this dot down here, you open the transcript, and when you open the transcript, it's going to appear to the right of the video. You can toggle the timestamps on and off and simply highlight and copy the information and make sure it's English as opposed to maybe automatically generated in English. But then you copy and paste it into a document, and you can use it to create a PDF or some sort of transcript for your students to learn a little bit more deeply, to read, to basically reflect on, and for discussion questions. So creating a closed transcript from a video is very important and super easy. Again, you go to the dot at the bottom, you open the transcript, it's going to appear to the right. You're going to be able to toggle those timestamps. So you don't want the timestamps to appear on your document. You want to basically take off those timestamps, copy and paste it into another document. I want to talk about some family fun because a lot of our students are trying to learn citizenship while their kids are sitting right next to them at the kitchen table. So one of them is for students and their children to read together, and Get Epic is a free digital library. You can put together playlists about citizenship or geography or Washington or Hamilton or whatever you would like to do to have your students to read along with, to have the children of your students to read along, and basically they're learning together and participating together in this opportunity. Also, you can do online jigsaw puzzles. So you can do it online, and there's a lot of free resources about online jigsaw puzzles over here that are related to civics questions. So, or you can basically simply buy like a 100-piece puzzle about the United States and get your students to start doing that with their children. And in a way, it's a family time and sharing opportunities. Finally, I want to talk about very quickly about some textbooks. Voices of Freedom is now available as an ebook and audio. ESL Publishing, I have my own book that I will be updating. Fisher Hill has a series that are Spanish and bilingual. New Readers Press, and we saw that article from Lynn Weintraub. And of course, please take a look at the high interest novel scenes from Anna Gianella and her short story series, which basically can link up to different questions that are related to citizenship. And Pearson has a really great complete course on CD-ROM, which is really super good for blended or distance learning. The only caveat I have is that what's going to happen with the new questions? What kind of more material do we need to develop? How are the textbooks companies going to respond to it? So I would just be careful before you hit that buy button. And finally, stay home, stay healthy, and stay strong. Thanks for listening. I know you guys will be great citizenship teachers, and I want to thank CASAS for this opportunity to talk about citizenship resources. I hope to come back and support CASAS with the CIT, and maybe they're gonna start thinking about updating and their listening tests for citizenship. So stay tuned for CASAS, and see you guys later. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.